Perhaps what you call intuition is just fear whispering with a spiritualized voice. What if your inner wisdom is actually being hijacked by a silent escape? In the more subtle paths of self-knowledge, it's common for the ego to learn to use the language of the soul as a defense strategy. What sounds like a wise choice is sometimes just a disguised refusal. I don't want to, that, deep down, hides a, I want it so much it terrifies me. It's at this point that the spiritual path stops being beautiful and starts being real. We live in a time when spirituality has gained a refined vocabulary. Talking about respect for inner timing, intuitive wisdom, and energetic boundaries sounds mature. But it can, in reality, hide a subtle form of avoidance. What if what you so carefully avoid is precisely what you most need to go through to free yourself? This is the art of seeing denied desire. How many times have you said, I don't want to love anymore, when what you truly wanted was to love without fear of losing yourself? How many times have you said, I don't want to try anymore, when what you desired was a space where you could try without being judged? Sometimes, what we reject isn't the other person, it's the mirror they show us. We reject situations, proposals, encounters, like someone closing a door they never intend to revisit. But what remains behind the door, in the darkness of refusal, is almost always a part of you. Forgotten, repressed, still latent. Refusal, when examined closely, reveals itself as an emotional field in conflict. The no, you say, can be a cry of self-protection, but it can also be an echo of unresolved pain. Jung reminded us that what we deny within ourselves doesn't disappear. It hides, and from where it hides, it begins to direct the course of our lives. Mature spiritual consciousness doesn't fear these ambivalences. It knows that behind many no's lies an unlived desire. It approaches discomfort with curiosity, like someone whispering, "What within me wants to be seen?" Not every no is a real limit. Some are emotional blocks disguised as wisdom. They are walls built not to preserve, but to avoid. And every wall I built within myself also became a distancing from others, from the world, from the present. Because when I protect myself too much from feeling, I start to live on the sidelines of life, like someone observing from the edge, but not diving in. That's why every true spiritual awakening crosses the terrain of discomfort. It's there that the soul begins to remember what was forgotten. It's there that you stop fleeing and start walking with what scares you. Spirituality is not a veil to cover up pain. It is a field of presence that teaches you to walk with it, not to transform it into something beautiful, but to liberate the truth it carries. Discomfort is not a mistake. It is a teacher. It shows where life has stopped flowing within you. Rumi said, "The wound is where the light enters you." But there's a detail. The light only enters if you don't cover the crack. And that's what we do when we avoid what hurts. We cover the wound with ready-made affirmations, with spiritual distractions, with undigested beliefs. And when we avoid for too long, we create an energetic armor, a subtle, almost invisible layer that makes us reactive, tense, fragmented, even when outwardly we appear serene. But there is no healing without passage, and passage requires the courage to stop resisting. Resistance, that silent force you barely notice, is what keeps you from fully feeling what needs to be felt. It manifests in phrases like, "I'm not ready," "This isn't for me," "I'll wait for the right time." But isn't the right time exactly this moment? The collapse of resistance is subtle. It doesn't happen with explosions. It happens when the body lets out a sigh, when the mind stops justifying, and when the soul finally surrenders. Krishnamurti wrote, "The root of suffering is resistance to what is." Liberation begins when we stop resisting the inevitable, when we accept that we don't know, that we don't control, that there are no guarantees. This state of surrender is not weakness, it is unarmed strength. It is a soul that, instead of fighting against the current, learns to move with the river. And the river knows where it's going, even when you don't know how to swim. How many times have you stopped yourself from living something real for fear of losing control? How many times have you put on the armor of consciousness, just to avoid feeling what your soul wanted to say? Spiritual resistance isn't always clear. It can dress itself in rational choices, firm stances, beautiful phrases. But behind it, there's a tense, frozen energy. A no that's tired of being repeated. And that's why liberation is, often, a collapse of defenses, a collapse of the character, a collapse of the escape. In that collapse, the Rayol is born, without ornaments, without control, without performance. The real doesn't demand that you be ready, only that you be present. And when you allow yourself to be, you begin to see. But what do you see? You see yourself, but perhaps not as you expected. Seeing yourself requires passing through the mirror, and most mirrors are fogged up, not because your essence has vanished, but because denial has accumulated mists between you and it. Imagine that each time you avoid a feeling, an aspect of yourself, a moment of truth, a layer of steam covers the mirror of your consciousness. Over time, you look at yourself and say, I don't recognize myself anymore. But it's not because you've changed. It's because you've stopped looking at yourself honestly. And this blurred mirror creates distance. You distance yourself from your own light. You disconnect from your own voice. And you start living in the echo of what once was, without real presence. Spirituality isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about remembering. And remembering requires tenderly cleaning the mirror. You don't need to break the reflection. You just need to embrace each blurred part with love. Every denied shadow asks for only one thing, to be looked at without judgment. And in looking, you not only see yourself, you also reconnect with everything that was left behind. There, in that mirror cleaned by silence, the soul appears. 3. Whole, simple, real. And in this restored reflection, perhaps you'll discover that everything you avoided was, in fact, your own calling. The fear you hide doesn't want to destroy you. It just wants to be heard. The pain you reject doesn't want to paralyze you. It just wants to be moved through. The desire you suppress doesn't want to delude you. It just wants to be realized with awareness. The encounter you postpone doesn't want to hurt you. It just wants to reveal what in you still resists love. And all of this, perhaps it's exactly what will set you free. Today, before you sleep, sit in silence. Breathe deeply 3 times. Place one hand on your chest and the other on your belly. And ask, what within me have I been avoiding in the name of protection? By protecting myself, am I also preventing myself from growing? Don't demand an immediate answer. Consciousness doesn't respond at the speed of the mind. It responds in the time of listening, in the space between one thought and another, in the subtlety of a shiver, a sigh, a silence. There, in the stillness, fear may reveal itself, not as a monster, but as a frightened child. There, the soul speaks, and you listen. If these words resonated with you, perhaps it's time to take another step on this path of reconnecting with your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and enable notifications to keep receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone else needed to find. And, if you wish to continue in this vibration, watch the video we've linked in the card. It was carefully chosen to continue this journey with you. Peace and light.